Hello! Good morning! Babasahin ko lang yung guidelines. Meron ba ditong English speaking? Okay, so ang guidelines is, yun nga, please be on time. So we will start at exactly 10 a.m. It's now 10 a.m. So please observe proper etiquette, be respectful of one another. Open your camera and unmute your audio when instructed. You may turn off your video if your connection is slow. And kindly chat or raise your hand if you have any questions. So, ayan, may pumapasok pa. Okay, so attendance muna tayo. So, ask ko lang ulit, ilan yung mag-code with me? Kindly type na lang po sa chat kung sino. So, I would know kung sino yung i-guide ko. Okay, isa pa po. Kindly prepare yung text editor nyo, Notepad or Notepad++, and then yung browser. Okay, sige, okay lang, makinig ka lang. Okay, good morning everyone. Before I begin, so today is October 11, Sunday. We will be having our web development online peer mentoring session today. So first, I would like to introduce myself. Hi, I am Athena Aliafeabe, but you can call me Atcha. I am a third-year computer science student at St. Paul University, Manila. So our objectives for today are the following: to differentiate web development and web design, to become familiar with HTML elements and CSS properties, to create a static web page using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and to appreciate the importance of web development. So the definition of web development, it is a creation of dynamic web application. So there are two divisions when it comes to web development. We have front end and back end. So to differentiate front end and back end, the simple terms for front end is user interface, or simply what the user sees. That's why it's front end. And back end, it is more on the programmer's code, program code. It is more on the functionality of web development. So the three things that we need to know in web development that is used are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's start with HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And there is actually an anatomy when it comes to web development. So HTML in the anatomy of web development is the skeleton. So meaning, like the human body, HTML is the skeleton because HTML holds everything together. So it defines the content and structure of your website. So it is more on like the foundation. That's why you need HTML in creating your website. Next is CSS. It stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Now CSS in the anatomy is more of the skin. So CSS gives you the look and feel of your website. Wait lang po, may papasok pa po. Okay na? Okay, so CSS, in short, aside from the look and feel, gives you, shows how attractive your website is. So, and the last is JavaScript. So, JavaScript in the anatomy are the muscles. So, it adds functionality. And like muscles, it gives motion and behavior. And in short, JavaScript is used for interaction. So, with JavaScript, it makes your website more interactive. So, JavaScript is developed in 1995. So, there are other programming languages that you can use, such as PHP, but in this session, we will be using JavaScript as our programming language today. Okay pa ba kayo dyan? Okay pa? Okay. Okay, very good. Mawala na ako kausap. Okay, yan, next. So now, web design. So I already explained web development. Now, web design. So, web development is different from web design. Web design is from the word the design. So, it focuses on how it looks, the interface. So it is visually beautiful. Your web design has to be visually beautiful. In short, aesthetically pleasing. There are two types of, or two kinds of web design. We have static and dynamic. So static is identified as easy, cheaper, and fixed. So static website is easy, cheaper, and fixed. An example of this, back in nung junior high school ako, ito nung tatagalog na ako. Yung junior high school ako, pinagawan kami ng static web page by just simply putting a story in the web page. So that is one example of a static web page. So it has no interaction, it doesn't have other functions aside from just displaying information on your web page. Next kind of web design is dynamic. It is a bit complex, it is costly, and is editable. So an example of this, there are a lot of samples of dynamic website. We have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It is dynamic because it has a lot of functionality. So in the field, it is complex, costly, and editable. It means that your website always has to be updated. So that's why it is editable. And next is accessible. So we have to make sure that our web design is inclusive for all types of people, like deaf, blind, or handicapped, etc. As much as possible, our web design has to give equal access to different kinds of people, if you can. So, and the last important thing in web design is that your web page needs to be responsive. It needs to be scalable on different kinds of devices. So as you can see here in the presentation, the website of SlidesGo can be scalable on phone, on tablet, and or your computer device, your laptop. Okay. So now we're going to start coding. So like I said a while ago, the web development is more on like an anatomy. So it is easily understood, and I have this here, a visual representation of web development. So like I said, HTML is the skeleton, CSS is the skin, and JavaScript are the muscles. Okay. So now we're going to create a simple sign up page. So starting with HTML. Okay. Now, so in this demo, you guys can unmute your mic after every output. So when I display the output, you can unmute your mic and you can ask me any questions. Let me know if I'm doing it slow or fast. So we're going to start. So ready na po ba yung mga sasabay? Okay na? Okay. So we will be doing this. So ganito yung magiging output natin. A simple sign-up form. We have here yung header, and then meron tayong division for personal information, and displaying the information of the webinar. And this is later on, this is on your part na. You can experiment on the different CSS syntax to design your web static sign-up form. So now we will start with the HTML elements. So as you can see here in the code, so gawin muna natin siya. Doctype HTML. So bakit nga ba tayo merong doctype HTML? So sa mga familiar na sa HTML, and if ever ngayon nyo lang po ito nakita, we have doctype HTML since the latest version of HTML po is HTML5. Based on my research po, please correct me if I'm wrong. The doctype HTML tag is used to identify, to give information that the file type is HTML po. That's why meron po tayong exclamation point doctype HTML. So in the HTML elements, as you can see here in the presentation slide, this is the basic structure for HTML. So we're going to start putting the opening tag, which is HTML, and the closing tag. So the closing tag has a forward slash at the start of the inside the tag. So when I code in HTML, I make sure that mag-English. Nilalagay ko na po agad yung closing tag para hindi ko po makalimutan. Okay, so inside the HTML tag, we will now put the head tag. So again, don't forget the closing tag. And inside the head tag, I will press tab and then I will put the title. So I will explain later where the title output will be. So you can put here sign up page and then your last name. And then after the head tag, you will now put the body, opening tag and the closing tag of the body. So as you can see, this is the basic structure for HTML. So now let's save. Don't forget to create a folder containing all of your files for HTML. So make sure that the file extension is .html. So now, ayan na, titignan na natin. Okay, so refresh. So after saving, you go to your file in your folder, right click, open with your selected browser. So I am using Microsoft Edge. So I'll go back here. So this is the expected output. Are you guys following? Are you still okay? Okay. So, yan. So, refresh na natin. Ayan. So, as you can see, same with the So, same with the output here. Yung tab is we assigned it with the title, sign up page, and then our last name. So, that is the basic structure of HTML. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, none? Okay, let's move on. Okay, next. Now we're going to do HTML tags. So there are different ways or syntax in order to create a form. So this is how I do my sign up form. So line number 7. So inside the body tag, so tab, I'm going to use the div tag in making the form. So later I will explain why I'm putting a property inside the tag. So as you can see, ito to align the division in the middle at the center. And then inside the div tag, I'm going to use the header tag. So there are 6 header tags starting with 1 until 6. 1 is the largest and 6 is the smallest in header tag. So you will see the difference later. So inside the first header is sign up form, and then header number 2 is by and then your name. Okay, after that, I'm now going to use the field set tag. So I use the field set tag in order to create a section. So ang field set, ang pagkakaintindi ko is magka-create siya ng box sa iyong web page to create yung division. Kaya po siya field set. Yun, from the word field set. Okay, so there. And save. So the expected output is ganyan. So let's see if we did it right. Okay. Refresh. And yan. Tama po. Okay. So, same output po ba for the others? Okay. Yan. Thank you. Next. Okay. Next na tayo. Next is now we're going to create text box and radio buttons. So, mahabang-habang code to. So, inside the field set, itan ko lang. Inside the field set, we're going to create the table. So I will align it again at the center. So don't forget the closing tag. And then, now I'm going to explain the tag legend. Hindi po siya legendary. Legend tag. So the legend tag, from what I understand, is the title of your field set. So, in this field set, the title of our field is personal information. So, inside the legend tag, I use the B tag. So, the B tag means bold. Is the bold tag. And actually, the legend tag, you can put it anywhere. But I put it inside the table. Nakabahan ako kasi yung mga kasama natin may alam na sa HTML. Okay, so next is, inside the table, we're going to create a row. So, the tag for row is TR. May papasok po. Okay na. Okay, so TR tag. So, the tag for column is TD. Okay, so inside the column tag, I'm going to use the label tag. And then full name. So this is the label for the input field for full name. And then next is, I'm going to use the input tag. Okay, may typo. And then I'm going to make this input field required. So as you can observe, other HTML tags, you can close it within one tag. So, comparing it with the label tag has an opening and closing tag. In here, the input tag, you can close it in only one tag. Kung naiintindihan niyo po. Thank you po. And then here, I put required because let's just say the user forgot to put his or her name. So if you put required here, it will alert or notify the user that they need to put their name. Okay. Next is, I'm going to create another column. So TD tag again. And then again, don't forget the closing tag. And then same, I'm going to put the label. May label. Charot. And then gender. And here I'm going to use, so this input tag, I forgot to explain. The type that we're going to use for the name is a text field or a text type. Now for the gender, I'm going to use a radio button for gender. So I'm just going to copy paste to make it efficient. Copy paste. Okay. And then radio. And then here, tanggalin natin yung required. I'm going to explain later why there are many properties inside the input tag. It is also connected with the functionality of the radio tag. ID, male, and then name, gender, and then value, male. Ay! Ayan. Okay. Next is, so, the label for male. Copy-paste na lang. Male. So the difference in this label tag, it has a for property or parameter. So for male. So this label is connected to this input tag. Okay. Then copy paste for the female. We will just change female. I hope you can still see it there. Female. Okay. Female. Female. Nakasunod pa po ba? Hello! Okay ba? Kaya pa? Dami nito, sorry. Okay, ayan. So, tama na ba? Kompleto na. Okay. Now, we will check. So, this is the expected output. So, full name. Nawala. Full name, the text field. Nakikita ba yung cursor ko? Ayan. And then, gender, male and female with the radio button. So, now, let's check. Ayan. So, tama tayo. So, kung, ayan siya. Text field. And then, radio button. So, as you can observe here, the radio buttons, the two radio buttons are connected with each other. That is why I have here the distinct properties. For example, I remove the name gender. This will happen. So, if I remove the name, so actually, the purpose of the name property is to group the radio buttons. So, if I didn't include the name gender, this will happen. So, the user can select both genders. So, in order to eliminate that, I put here the name gender. So, when the user inputs his or her gender, isa lang yung nasa-select. So, the other properties here will be useful later in CSS pa. Okay. So, did you guys have the same output? Hala, nawala na yung camera nila. Hi. Guys, nakuha nyo ba? Okay. May gumagawa pa ba? Okay, sige. Ayan. Okay. Next na tayo. Now, we're going to do the drop-down menu. Asan na? Labo na ng mata ko. Wait lang po. Okay, ayan. Malinaw na. Drop-down menu. Here, ayan. It's the slide. Now, we're going to do the drop-down menu. So, next is, ito na. Ampersand NBSP. So, ampersand NBSP stands for non-breaking space. So, if you use ampersand NBSP, it will add another space. So, that is why I use NBSP. So that the ang galing ko pala to, wala pala tong colon. So, para yung female na label, hindi masyadong dikit dun sa susunod nating column na gagawin. So, we're going to add another column for the drop-down menu. So, now we're going to do a drop-down menu for age. So, you are wondering why, bakit drop-down menu yung age? So, this is just for example purposes only. So, of course, in web development, when you create an input type for age, the commonly used input type is text. So, in here, this is just an example. Since we will be doing a sign-up form for this webinar, I will be doing a drop-down menu para ma-experience nyo din kung paano siya gawin. And in this example, my drop-down menu options are age groups. So, the ages that you are seeing right now is yung age groups natin ngayon. So, label, tapos age, then, so the tag for the drop-down menu is select. And then we're going to assign name, age, and then ID. So the ID property, if you are curious, it will be handy later in CSS. So I'll explain it later. Don't forget the closing tag. And then, for the option, again, don't forget the closing tag. So in here, the property here is the value. So instead of putting a long value, I will just assign digits. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, 18 to 20. So, again, copy-paste para hindi po tayo matagal. Ayan, copy-paste. And then, 2, 3, 4. And then, 21 to 25. 26 to 30. And 31 and above. And save. Ayan. So, ang expected output is this one. As you can see, hindi gaano, it is not that noticeable, the ampersand NPSP, but there is a space in between female, the label female, and the label age. So, now we're going to check, refresh, and there. The drop down, nakikita po ba? Hindi yata nakikita. So, we have here the drop-down menu for age. So, okay pa po ba kayo? Okay pa, okay pa. Nakakuha po ba? Okay, okay. Next. Ayan. So, now we're going to create another field set. Okay. So, after this, so dito naman, ayan, field set for the webinar information, field set. Okay. We're going to create another table inside the field set. And same, we will put the legend titled webinar, title. Okay. And then inside the table, we're going to create a row using the tr tag. And then inside the tr tag, we're going to create a column using the td tag. And then here, okay, now we're going to use the BR tag. So the BR tag is a break tag. So the difference with ampersand NBSP and the BR tag is that, like I said before, ampersand NBSP or the non-breaking space function is just to add another space. So the break tag here is to, like the enter button, to move on to the next line. So I will use the break tag to adjust the space. Okay. Now I'm going to use the button tag. So the button tag will be useful later when we apply JavaScript. So the button tag, I will create a button to hide or show details. So today I'm going to show you using JavaScript on how to hide or show details inside the webinar field set. Okay. And then inside the column, I'm going to make a division just to organize the details. But there are different ways on how you can do it. So this is how I do it. Details. Okay. Okay. After that, now I'm going to use the P tag. The P tag stands for a paragraph tag. Okay. So since the details, I'm going to organize it into like a one paragraph. So again, I'm going to use the B tag, the bold tag. So when, and then October 11, 2020, 10 a.m. until 12 noon. So guys, I have a question. Please answer. So in this line, line number 46, can you please tell me on what part, kung alin po dito yung naka-bold lang? Anyone? Anyone? Ha? When? Oh, thank you! Okay, tama si John, tama si Stella. Leo, thank you for trying. Pero, as you can observe here in the syntax, ang bold po is when. Kasi, when is inside the bold tag. Ayan, thank you, very good. Thank you for cooperating, guys. It means so much to me. Okay, next. So, here, we're going to use the BR tag after when. So, like I said, so it will go on to the next line. So, to not waste time, let's just copy-paste again. So, copy-paste. Okay. When, where, and who. Hindi who. Mentor. Me, mentor. So, here, where Google Meet, we're in Google Meet. And then, mentor, yours truly. But you can add whatever you want. Pwedeng participant instead na mentor, gano'n. Okay, after that, so, after the closing div tag, I'm going to put another ampersand non-breaking space, NTSP. And I'm going to add a submit button. But for now, in today's session, the submit button, we will not put any functionality to the submit button for now because we will use the hide or show details for JavaScript. So since given that our exercise today is a static sign up form, we will not add any functionality to the submit button. Thank you. Okay, so after that, I'm going to add another row. Last na po talaga to, promise. Ang dami ng row, pero ayan. And then inside, our last row is a label. And then inside the label tag, bold tag. Inside the bold tag, we will put topic. And then after that, next line, we will put web development. Okay, so so as you can observe, you can ask me, Atcha, bakit nasa huli yung topic? Tapos nauna yung when, where, ganon. Kasi diba usually, pag naglalagay tayo ng detail, syempre, of course, una yung topic. So, malalaman nyo kung bakit nasa huli yan mamaya. Kasi hindi lahat ng bagay na nakikita natin, yun din yun. May hugot. Pero, okay, this is the expected output. So, like I said, not everything is yun yung ano. So, nilagay natin dito sa dulo yung label tag na topic, pero when you can see it in the output on the presentation, nasa una siya. Don't ask me why kasi hindi ko din po alam. Joke lang. Pero nung inaano ko siya, nung dinedebug ko siya, ito talaga yung working na ano niya. So let's check here. Ayan. So yun nga, tama nga po. So naging una yung topic na label. Then sa same flow, header show details, and then when, where, and then mentor. And then, nasa dulo yung submit. As you can see, the NBSP here is noticeable because there is a space in between the mentor and the submit button. And for the BR here, it is also noticeable because after web development, there is a space in between the topic and the hide or show details. So, do you guys have any questions? Are you guys following? Are you still there? Okay pa po ba? Wala na, lahat na nag-mute, wala na camera. Okay na. Thank you. Nakakasunod ba? Huwag kayong mahiya sa akin kung may kailangan tayong i-debug or ayusin. Saan nagawa nyo ba guys? Sa mga gumagawa? No? At Ate Thea, alin ang aayusin natin? Saan ka naligaw? Ayaw mo? Hiya ka? Pero okay lang, nandito lang po ako kung kailangan niyo po ng tulong ko. Okay. So, move on na po tayo. Move on na? Okay, move on na. Okay na, move on na. Ito na nakikita sa sarili ko. Okay. Next na po tayo. Ayan na, JavaScript. Ayan na. Ito yung inaabangan ng lahat. So, I will not demonstrate yung computational functionality ng JavaScript because, no. The joke lang. Ito yung inisip ko kasi to give an exercise na not more on computational. Since yung example ko kasi is more on a display type, since static nga, so hindi ako naglagay ng computation. Kasi commonly pag nag-aaral ng JavaScript more on merong conditions, merong computation. So since hindi lahat ay may background knowledge in JavaScript, so this is just a simple script na gagawin natin. So, notepad, ayan. Ayan. Okay. So, ayan, mag-a-assign na tayo sa button na hide or show. So, like I said, dito, we will use the button hide or show for the JavaScript functionality. So, the property or the parameter or in the property that we use para ma-connect ang hide or show details button is on click and then equals details. So, the details here is yung pangalan ng function. Okay, so save. Okay. Kita ba? Ayan. Here, on click. Ayan. Then, next procedure is ito. I forgot to mention in the start po pala na you can insert your script inside the head tag, but there are other ways. Some people insert their script tag inside the body, so it depends. So for now, we're going to put the script, the JavaScript script, in the head tag. So don't forget the closing tag. And ito na nga po. Okay, so function details. So ito po yung details sa on click, and then curly bracket, enter, and then tab, and then variable x. So this is just a common variable name type. Document dot get element by id, close and open parentheses, quotation mark, details, and semicolon. So, the document get element by ID is the function to get the detail, which is here. Dito siya, nakakonect. So, this is the function name, details, and dito siya nakalink. So, actually, based on my understanding, the document that get element by ID is, ang role niya is to determine whether that function is used, or for simpler terms, doon niya dinedetermine kung nakaklik ba yung button, kung nakaselect yung input, so like that. So, we will put an if statement here. So, the if statement, the purpose of an if statement is to identify whether the input is selected or not. So, like I have said before, document.getElement by ID, we will use the if statement to know kung naklik po ba yung hide or show details na button. So, if, and then close and open parenthesis, inside is the condition. So, x here is the variable name that we assign, x.style dot display equals quotation mark none, and then inside the if statement, curly bracket, and then in here we're going to x dot style dot display equals block. So this line, the function of this line is kapag hindi po nakaselect yung hide or show details, naka-block siya, wala siyang naka-as is lang siya. So in here, pag walang ginalaw sa hide or show details, as is lang siya. Tama ba? Nakamali ako. Malalaman. So, dito, okay, after ng if statement, else. So, laging, after ng if, may else. So, let's say, pag hindi nakanon yung button, else, ito yung gagawin niyang function instead. Else, x.style.display equals none. Ayan. So, let's check. So, ang output niya is, this is the before. So, I am guessing na, oh yeah. So, ito nga, baliktad pala. So, the else statement here is walang gagawin. So, ito siya, pag before. And after, itong if I'm right, please correct me if I'm wrong. Mag-hide siya. So, before, after. So, let's check kung tama siya. So, refresh. So, nung ni-refresh natin, as is pa rin siya, don't worry. Pag pinindot natin yung button, ma-hide na yung webinar details. So, asan na po? Here. So, etong kaya naka-connect din tong div tag. I forgot to mention. So, in the div tag, I assigned it with using the ID details. That is why the document get element by ID here. That's why it is details. It is lowercase details. So, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that the information that we are controlling here is the div, under the div tag. But the identifier here, para malaman kung i-hide or i-show yung nasa div tag, is yung button with the functionality on click. Okay. So, babalikan ko kayo. Okay pa po ba kayo? Okay. So, nakakasunod ba? Okay pa po? Okay. Okay, diba? Alam mo, ayan o, diba? Oh. Ang babaw, pero ayan. You can hide and show your details there. So, here's, eto na, we're almost at the end of our session. Oh, aga natin matatapos. So, in here, CSS na tayo. So, actually, I'm not going to demonstrate I'm not going to manually show you CSS because CSS, it is actually up to you. You can search, you can search different syntax kung paano gawin, kung paano nyo i-design kasi it's up to you guys. So, I will just show, ito yung itsura ng CSS. So, when you make when you use CSS, you need to save your file with the file extension .css. So, the difference here is, of course, wala tayo nakikitang opening and closing tag. It is more on the connecting your ID. So, that is why, ito, makita nyo, ito, sample with CSS. Makita nyo dito, we have here the IDs. So, the function for the ID is to connect your tags in CSS. So, example here is H1. Ano yung H1? Ano yung H1? Ito makita. Legend na lang. Kung ito, legend. So, it is not just yung ID lang. You can directly use the tag. So, let's say here, legend. So, the legend tag here. So, ang mangyayari dito, when you use CSS, when you design your website, you can directly use the tag here, legend, and then inside the curly braces, the properties that you will use, font family, font size, font weight, and color. So, I will show you. So, this is my CSS code here. Majority of this are copy-paste lang. So, you don't have to, it is okay to explore different types of CSS. So, this is an example. So, this is what I have done. So, as you can observe, lumiit yung header tag because in here, ito, H1, pinaliitan ko siya. Ayan. Try natin. 1 naman. Ayan. Mas lalo siyang lumiit. 3. Okay. So, ayan siya. So, ito kasi, naka-minimize kasi siya, kaya pag nakikita nyo sa share screen ko, malaki yung buttons. Pero, if I maximize it, hindi kasi siya hindi siya responsive pa. So, kaya siya ganyan. So, as you can see here, you can explore ito. Tulad nito, ang CSS na ginamit ko is nag-hover siya. Nagfe-fade yung buttons. And then here, sa drop-down, hindi yata siya nakita, pero iba na yung color. And then here, pag may nag-select, nagko-color yung buttons. So, you can explore different CSS codes in the internet. So, based on what you have learned today, I will ask, how do you relate web development in your life? Sabi niya, as a student, pwede rin namin ito magamit sa school and also sa ating resume para sa additional background. Actually, may idea na rin po ako sa basic fundamentals sa HTML and also sa CSS, pero onti pa lang po ang habol ko lang is sa JavaScript. Ang natutunan ko this day sa JavaScript, pwede pala gamitan ng style sa loob mismo, like X, style display, equals none. So, yun ang natutunan ko this day. Okay, thank you po, sir. Ay, si RJ pala to! Okay, thank you, RJ. Oo nga, madami talagang nag-join ng session natin today for JavaScript kasi nga, actually, yun nga, ang lawak ng JavaScript. Pero yun nga, we have to consider din po yung mga baguhan. Yung mga baguhan sa, and hindi CSNIP. So, we need to include them. So, basahin muna natin yung kay Leo. Sabi ni Leo, same rin siya sa Visual Basic na puro statements, which is maganda siya at knowing the JavaScript just like other programming language, puro statements, pahirap, heights. True, Leo, okay lang yan. Totoo, statements talaga siya, and kailangan talaga natin siya kasi nga, without it, walang magiging function at magiging static lang yung site natin if we don't include JavaScript talaga. Okay, and sino pa ba? Sige. So, while waiting for the other answers, natawag ko na po ba lahat? Sabi ni Sir Raffy, legend at field set, hindi ko lagi nagagamit. May bago ako natutunan at saka hindi pala lahat ng nahuhuli, nagiging una din pala. Ayan, thank you Sir Raffy. Opo, actually no, ngayon ko lang din po siya natutunan nung pine-prepare ko po yung presentation ko kasi madalas po as a CS student, very structured in order kung ano yung nilagay namin yung dinalilitaw. So, actually, ngayon ko lang din po nalaman na ganun din pala. May mga lines din na hindi porket nilagay mo doon is by order din lilitaw. And, totoo po yun na yung legend at field so hindi din gano'n nagagamit din actually sa field. Pero, isa din tong way to organize din po yung inyong website. Ayun, ayan na si Dren, sabi, so ayun ate, may knowledge na ako sa lahat po ng naturo, pero yung sa part na may talagay ng ID, ayun, dun po ako may natutunan. Ayan, thank you, Drence. And kay Stella, as a student din po, magagamit ko po ito sa future po. May idea na rin ako actually about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript at yung mga basics, pero I came for more knowledge po. Okay, thank you, Stella. So, ayan guys, thank you for participating. So, ako naman, so paano nga ba talaga natin ma-relate ang web development sa buhay natin? So, I created an acronym para pwede nyo din to itatak sa, tak talaga yun. Pero pwede din, you can remember this by. So, I made an acronym SITE, S-I-T-E. So, in our life, we need a site. So, S, specific. So, what it is all about. So, in life, pag meron tayong gustong i-conceptualize, kailangan maging specific tayo. Kasi, kahit CSIT student man po tayo or hindi, kapag may mga gusto tayong gawin sa buhay, we need to be specific about it. Kasi, kapag all over the place tayo, hindi maayos, magulo. So, S, specific, what it is all about. So, yan. So, letter I naman po, interactive. So, pag nalaman na po natin yung gusto nating, let's say, objective, now we're going to move on to letter I, which is interactive. So, we're going to identify yung purpose. So, inisip ko to, ito yung gusto mong gawin, para saan to? So, that is why interactive. Aside from knowing the purpose, na gusto mo gawin sa buhay mo, you also need to make sure that it's interactive. It is not only beneficial for you, but to others as well. So, if you have a plan, you need to identify the purpose. Is it just for me, or is it beneficial for others? That is why I is interactive. So, habang iniisip nyo to guys, don't focus on the technicality na web dev. This is applying yung natutunan natin na fundamentals sa buhay natin in general. So, next, after identifying the purpose, now let's move on to letter T, which is transformative. So, given that, tulad ng sabi ng karamihan sa atin, na everything nga now is online, kasi nga, for now, hindi pa pwede ang face-to-face. So, letter T, we have to make it transformative. So, I want to do this. What is the purpose? And how will I apply it? That is why it is transformative. So, let's say you want to do something physical or outside. Dahil hindi nga po tayo pwede lumabas, we need to transform it. We need to improvise kung paano natin siya may integrate online. So, tulad nga po nitong peer mentoring, an example of being transformative is my peer mentoring po. So, you all know this is part of my outreach program at St. Paul University, Manila. And I am transforming it. Instead of teaching you guys face-to-face, I am doing it now online. So, yon. And after making it transformative, the last letter is E, efficient. So, it being transformative does not just end there. The most important thing that we have to include is efficiency. Efficient. So, we need to make sure it uses less time, memory, and space. So, when we do something, syempre, as we all know, whether student ka man or professional ka na, time is really an issue. Lalo na ngayon, kasi compared sa, syempre, iba pa din pag face-to-face, like you have to commute and everything. But here, everything is integrated online. So, time is still valuable pa rin. And I would like to thank you guys for joining my peer mentoring kasi I value your time. And efficiency is important. So, actually, I have made this session for 2 hours. And eto nga, napatunayan na natin na efficient kasi good thing natapos tayo ng maaga. So, we will have extra time for discussions. So, everything that you do, you need to make sure that you need to be mindful of how much time we're going to put into it. Lalo na mga estudyante, alam ko mga nag-online class, problema sa atin, nagpo-procrastinate tayo. Oo, ayan. So, Di ba alam niyo may YouTube video ako? Gumawa po ako ng YouTube video na hindi kayo nag-iisa, nagko-procrastinate din ako, na-overwhelm ako at nade-drain din ako. So, kaya kailangan po natin sa buhay ng efficiency. Kailangan po natin ng disiplina. So, I am connecting our web development today sa buhay natin. Yun nga. So, kung tulad nga ng iba, hindi nila alam kung paano nila ma-apply ang web development sa buhay nila. So, this is for you. Gumawa ako ng acronym SITE, Specific, Interactive, Transformative, and Efficient. So, we have to be mindful then of the things we do, and we have to make sure if it is worth our time. Kasi kapag hindi tayo organized sa mga ginagawa natin, tayo din yung may hirapan. So, tulad nga niyan, let's say either student ka or prof ka, or professional ka, kung madami kang ginagawa din, nagpo-procrastinate ka, ikaw din yung may hirapan po sa huli kasi hindi ka po mindful sa paggamit ng time and hindi organized kung ano yung plan mo. So, 'di ba? Ang lalim, no? Ito pala siya, ito pala ang application ng web development sa buhay natin. So, guys, open na po tayo for discussion. Huwag na kayo mahiya. You can turn on your video and your mic, and you can ask me anything, or if you want me to discuss something about yung napag-usapan natin today. So, ayan. Ito po yung applications and references na ginamit ko. Notepad++, Microsoft Edge. And I forgot to mention, ang pinaka-reliable source for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript po is W3 Schools. Kung meron po kayong other suggestion na resources, please, i-comment nyo po sa chat box para malaman din po ng iba. Pero for me po, I use W3 Schools as my source. Ayan po. Okay. So, this ends my presentation po. If you don't have any questions or concerns, if you did the demo with me, thank you so much. Feel free to send me a screenshot of your work at my email, abed.athena@spumanila.edu.ph with the subject format webdev-your last name. And if you have any follow-up questions about this session, please feel free to leave me a message on my Facebook account, Atcha Abe. And if you guys are interested, tulad nga po ng sabi ni Sir Vincent, more pa, I am actually invited to be a speaker po about SQL. I was invited by the AMA Computer School in Caloocan. So, I will link their Facebook page sa chat. I will be talking about SQL. So, I will be demonstrating about the CRUD operations, the aggregate functions, and the database relationship. If you're interested, I will send the link. So, this is on October 20 po. The time is 3 to 4 p.m. October 20. It is a Tuesday. So, if you want to learn about SQL, kasi po, to those people who have registered for the database session po natin this coming October 25, it is a different session po. It is about the database systems po. And it is more on the fundamentals. If I have enough time po, I can also integrate kung ano po yung ipapresent ko po sa October 20. So, I will be talking about SQL, but for here, ito po. This is the schedule po. Their web development series. Okay, so, ayun po, thank you. Pakita na po kayo. So, before I end po, please turn on your camera po. We will have a group picture po. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys. Ingat kayo dyan. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Take care. See you next Sunday. Bye. Rest well. Happy weekend. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye po, Miss. Ingat po. Bye-bye, guys. Ingat.